Hey guys, David here from Scissor Explosion. I'm joined here by Julian.
Hi.
And today we're going to be deck profiling for you a Metagross GX Solgaleo GX deck. This is a really interesting deck. We saw this deck get 15th place at the Melbourne, Australia special event, and we thought that this would be a really cool deck to try and build. And this is Julian's version of it, and I think it's a very strong deck. It can be kind of clunky at times because it has two different Stage 2 Pokemon in it, but I think it's really powerful. It has a lot of potential. But we hope you really enjoy the deck profile. We're really excited to bring this to you guys. So we will get into that here in just a minute. But before we get started, I wanted to let y'all know that we're nearly at our 100 subscribers. I think at the time of this recording, we have 90 subscribers. And once we get to 100, we'll be doing another Pokemon GX giveaway. This time, we'll be giving away 10 Pokemon GX. Not all of them will be hyper rare. We will throw some hyper rares and some full arts, but the majority of them will be standard arts. But we'll be giving away 10 this time. So once we reach that 100 subscriber mark, I will make another video detailing how we'll give those Pokemon GX away. So anyway, 100 subscribers, another Pokemon GX giveaway video. And without further ado, let's get into this Metagross GX Solgaleo GX deck profile. So to start off, guys, we are running 4 copies of Beldum. This is the Beldum with the, what is that ability called? Connective Body. Couldn't see it. Connective Body, and it says, as long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, it has a retreat cost of colorless less for each Beldum on your bench. So if you put this in the active and have 2 other Beldums on the bench, you have free retreat. So it's a pretty useful ability. And this is the 60 HP Beldum, so once Professor Elm's lecture comes out, this card will be compatible with that card. So 4 copies of Beldum. And then 2 copies of Metang. Metang is there just as a stepping stone, really. I mean, Core Beam could be a useful attack if you need to use it in a pinch, but mostly it's just a stepping stone to one of the main attackers of this deck, and that is 3 copies of Metagross GX. Metagross GX has 250 HP, really bulky, the highest HP in the game, and has the ability Geotech System, which is really cool. Once during your turn before your attack, you can attach a Psychic or a Metal Energy from your discard pile to your active Pokemon. Really strong ability in my opinion. And then the Giga Hammer attack, 2 Metal Energies, 1 colorless, 150 damage, and this Pokemon cannot use Giga Hammer on the next turn. I really wish this attack did just a little more damage. Like if it hit for 160, it'd be just a million times better. But sadly, it does not. Well, with Choice Man, you're still hitting 180. That means you can knock out things like Rayquaza GX. You can knock out Tapia Lily GX. So, stuff like that. The lower end of the GX spectrum. But if it had that just 10 more points, you could hit things like Buzzwole. You could hit things like drawing a blank. What else, Julian? Those 190 Pokemon. Yeah. There you go. 190. Buzzwole's the only one that comes to mind at the moment. Well, Duskmane Necrozma. There you go. Duskmane Necrozma GX has 190 HP. You could hit that for one shot, but sadly, you cannot. If you wanted to, you could tech, I guess, you could tech in here a Delmise for your metal Pokemon to do 10 more damage, which really wouldn't be too bad. But in this deck list, we do not play Delmise. But consideration for your own deck, if you wanted to play Delmise to up your damage output, you could do that. So 3 copies of Metagross GX. We also play 2 copies of the non-GX Metagross, and I think this Metagross is really, really good. It's got 170 HP, 4 retreat cost, which is super, super overkill. But you have the Extend ability, which is really cool. As long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your turn does not end when you play Steven's Resolve. We do play 2 copies of Steven's Resolve in this deck, and Steven's Resolve is really good. It's basically Sylveon GX's Magical Ribbon attack, but in a supporter card. But we'll get to that here in a minute. Then it has the Meteor Mash attack, does 60 damage, and during your next turn, this Pokemon's Meteor Mash does 60 more damage. So as long as this Pokemon stays active, every other turn after the first turn you use it, it'll deal 120. So 60 first turn, 120, then 120, 120. As long as it stays in the active every turn, which is pretty decent damage output for 1 energy. It's really good. It's a really good first turn play if you happen to have access to Steven's Resolve. So next up, we have another evolutionary line here. We have 2 copies of Cosmog, basically just your stepping stone to your next one. And then we play 1 copy of Cosmoem, just in case. We do play 4 rare candies in here, but that's all we can put in this deck. Sometimes you use up your rare candies early on in the game, and you need to get that Cosmoem in order to get to the next stage, which is 2 copies of Solgaleo GX. I just did a deck profile on Solgaleo, and you all know my love for Solgaleo. It is an awesome Pokemon, and it's really good in this deck. If you get a Solgaleo and a Metagross set up, or even 2 Metagross set up, you have combos for days. You got the Ultra Road ability, which basically, once per turn, before you attack, you can switch your active with one of your bench. It's basically a switch in a Pokemon ability. Really good ability. And then you got Sunsteel Strike for 2 metals and a colorless energy, 230 damage. Discard all energies attached to this Pokemon. Very, very strong attack, kills nearly everything in the game. And then you got your Soul Burst GX, which is another GX option. Search your deck for up to 5 energy cards, attach them to your Pokemon any way you like. The other GX option, I don't think I mentioned it on Metagross. You've got Algorithm GX, which lets you search your deck for any 5 cards and add them to your hand. Really strong, but those are our 2 GX options in this deck. If you happen to open Metagross, Algorithm's really good for getting all your other Pokemon set up. If you happen to open Solgaleo, Solgaleo is really good for getting all your energies on board. And once you attack with your Solgaleo GX, you got 3 metals in the discard, so you're already ready with your Geotech system attack. Some really cool combos that we've seen Julian use is he has a Solgaleo in the active. He'll use Sunsteel Strike, and the next turn, hopefully he gets a Metagross or 2 set up. Then he can Geotech system onto the Solgaleo, and then attach an energy from the hand, and then use Sunsteel Strike just right after that. It's a really, really crazy, powerful combo. And this Solgaleo can be really scary if he gets it set up while he has some Metagrosses set up as well. So 2 copies of Solgaleo GX.
I love it.
Yeah, Solgaleo is really, really good in there. We have a couple one-ups. We play 1 Alolan Vulpix, and this is for the Beacon attack. So you can search your deck for 2 Pokemon, reveal them, and add them to your hand for no energy cost. That way you can start powering up your other Pokemon with energy, not worry about Vulpix. If you happen to start it, it's a really good starting lead. And you can search your deck for those 2 copies, like a copy of Metagross and a copy of Metagross GX, or a copy of Metagross and a copy of Solgaleo, something like that, in order to get your hand, or in order to get your evolutions out and get your field set up the way you want it to. It goes down 1 prize, but really it puts in a lot of work, especially with cards like N being out of the format. The only disruption we have in the format right now, well, the only meta-relevant one we have right now is Judge. There are Ilema, which lets each player flip a coin. They both shuffle their hands to their deck. If that player flips heads, they draw 6. If not, if they flip tails, they draw 3. So that's another disruption. There's also Wick, which lets each player shuffle their hand into their deck, then count the cards in their hand, and they draw a card for each card they already had in their hand. So, but really, I think the only meta-relevant one is Judge. And Judge, most players don't want to judge themselves down to 4. I mean, they may want to get that disruption going, but sometimes they don't want to judge themselves down to 4. So Vulpix has a lot more viability this format. And then 1 copy of Tapia Lily GX. Julian only has 1 copy right now, so I bet if he had more, he'd probably play a 2nd copy of Tapia Lily in the deck. But Tapia Lily is there for that Wonder Tag ability. Grab us our Steven's Resolve, grab us our Draw Supporters, Cynthia's, your Guzmas, stuff like that, in order just to get your plays rolling. So 1 copy of Tapia Lily GX. And that's it for the Pokemon, guys. Next up, we have our supporters. We got 4 copies of Cynthia. Your basic draw supporter for this format. The best draw supporter, in my opinion. Shuffle your hand into your deck, draw 6 cards. And then next up, we run 3 copies of Guzman. Guzma is really, really good, letting you target down those Pokemon you want to take down, especially with things like Solgaleo. If you take down a Pokemon and you're ready to take another one out with Solgaleo, sometimes your opponent will send up like a non-GX. That way you draw less prizes. Then you just Guzma out something, Ultra Road into the active, and then take another knockout with your Solgaleo. Or even the same thing with Metagross, because Metagross is usually a 2-shot Pokemon. He doesn't one-shot a whole lot of things, in the GX range anyway. But you can target down like Lele's on the bench as long as you have a Choice Band on, and you can hit him for 180 and get you 2 prizes. So Guzma's really, really good, and almost, well, I'd just say in every deck, not almost every. Yeah, almost every. There's some decks I wouldn't play Guzman, just kidding. 3 copies of Lilly. we only play one copy of Tapia Lily, so we want that really good chance to get a Lily first turn. I bet if we had another Lele, we would probably take out a Lily for another Lele. That'd probably be a really good play. But anyway, Lily's your really good first turn play. Draw 2, you have 6 cards in your hand. If it's your first turn, draw 2, you have 8. Really strong card, and it's especially good with these Stage 2 decks to help you draw into those rare candies or those Ultra Balls in order to get your Stage 2s out. Now, another card we play in this deck, I talked about this a little bit earlier. This is 2 copies of Steven's Resolve. Steven's Resolve is really, really good. It's basically Sylveon's Magical Ribbon in a supporter form. Search your deck for any 3 cards, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck, then your turn ends. So it's good in a lot of decks, but it's really shines in this deck because of your non-GX Metagross with his extend ability. As long as he's in the active, when you play Steven's Resolve, it does not end your turn. So a really good first turn play, if you're able to get it set up, is get your Metagross non-GX down, and then Steven's Resolve for like Rare Candy, Solgaleo, Metal Energy, and then Rare Candy into Solgaleo, attach Metal Energy, Ultra Road into the active, and use your Soul Burst GX to get your energies out on the board and start taking some knockouts. So Steven's Resolve has really a lot of versatile uses in this deck. Couple of one-ofs we play 1 copy of Hala, because you do want to get off your GX attack first in this. You usually either want to use Algorithm or you want to use Soul Burst GX, and then once you do, your Hala is active and ready to be played. So shuffle your hand into your deck. If you use your GX attack, draw 7. If not, draw 4. So Hala is really strong in this deck. And then 1 copy of Judge. Each player shuffles the hand into the deck and draws 4 cards, just for that little bit of disruption if you see your opponent set them up a big play, and you're at a point where you feel like you can judge yourself and still be okay. Judge is there to help you out with that. And that's it for the supporters, guys. Next up, we have 4 copies of Ultra Ball, your basic search for any Pokemon deck, especially in a Stage 2 deck. Discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do search a deck for a Pokemon, reveal it and add it to your hand. And in any Stage 2 deck, you're going to play Rare Candy, and in this deck we play 4 copies of Rare Candy to skip that second stage of evolution and go straight into Metagross from Beldum. So Rare Candy is very essential to this deck. If we could play more copies in this deck in particular, we would, because we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Stage 2s in this deck. But normally you only want to get a couple of those set up. You want to get maybe just 1 Solgaleo set up. We have the second one in here for a higher chance of it not being prized. But your main attacker is probably your Metagross to recharge your energies and retreat turn after turn and just keep on attacking. Next up, we play 3 copies of Nest Ball. Nest Ball's there to get these basics out because it's an evolution deck and you need to get your basics out as soon as possible so you can start evolving them immediately. And 2 copies of Max Potion. Max Potion is good in this deck for reasons I explained in my Solgaleo GX video. Solgaleo GX discards all his energies after he attacks, so why not Max Potion him after your opponent puts some damage on him? And then Metagross, the normal strategy is you want to use Giga Hammer. They'll whack you for some damage. You'll retreat off those 3 energies because Metagross has a 3 retreat cost. And then once he's on the bench, you Max Potion, Geotech System onto your active Metagross, and use Giga Hammer once again. It is a rinse and repeat deck, usually. But yeah, Max Potion is good for both Solgaleo and Metagross. Then we play 2 copies of Rescue Stretcher to get those Pokemon back that we need. Stage 2 decks, sometimes you've got to discard some Pokemon you don't particularly want to discard in order to get to some other Pokemon that you need, like with Ultra Ball. And Rescue Stretcher is there to put them back in the hand. It's also a nice combo if you draw into a Rare Candy and you just had a Metagross knocked out, you have a Beldum ready to evolve on the bench. Just Rescue Stretcher for that Metagross back, Rare Candy into Metagross, and start continuing on with your plays. 2 copies of Choice Band. I feel like this should be upped maybe by 1, because Metagross wants that one-shot potential as much as he can get, and 180 is the number he really needs to hit, because there's not really a whole lot of 150 Pokemon, with the exception of things like Mr. Mime GX and Marshadow GX. But Marshadow's seeing some play, but I don't think Mr. Mime is seeing very much play at all. But Choice band is really important anyway, because you still want to get that 180. You still want to be able to one-shot with Solgaleo on those 250 HP Pokemon, maybe an opposing Metagross or opposing Solgaleo. Something like that, or even Decidueye. I've heard Decidueye is starting to get really popular again with Stage 2 decks coming back. But yeah, Choice band's there for that little extra damage. And the last item we play, just a single tech that Julian likes, it is Timer Ball. Timer Ball is really good because naturally you have evolutions in your deck and you want to get those evolutions out. So usually you flip at least one heads with this card. So why not? You know, he had the space in the deck and he's like, all right, let's play a Timer Ball. Why not? What's it gonna hurt? I don't think it's gonna hurt anything. I think it's a good tech. And to end off the deck, guys, we play 10 copies of Basic Metal Energy. And do you think that's a pretty comfortable count?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. I don't think that's a bad count at all, because after you Soul Burst, you're still going to have 4 energies in the deck, right? Because you'll have to have 1 attached to Solgaleo, and then you get 5 from the deck. But really, once you get those 5 attached, and you discard with your Solgaleo's attack, those 3 are in the discard that you really need for your Metagross's Geotech system. So 10, I think, is a pretty comfortable count. Gives you a high chance of drawing it into your hand, and then it gives you still a high chance of having plenty in the deck after you use Soul Burst GX. So 10 copies of Basic Metal Energy to finish off the deck. And that is the end of the deck profile, guys. Metagross GX and Solgaleo GX. I think these two Pokemon, they work really well together. The only bad thing is that they're both stage 2s. Yes. They both require rare candy. And I play games with Julian where sometimes he doesn't even get off an evolution before I shut him down. But then sometimes he gets off those evolutions and they're very, very threatening Pokemon. They both have 250 HP, which is the highest in the game, highest unboosted, I should add, in the game. And they both are very powerful attackers. They're very stout Pokemon. And I know for a fact he runs Max Potion in this deck. I would not build this deck without Max Potion either. But Giga Hammer can hit some decent damage. Sometimes it can one-shot things. I do play a Rayquaza deck, and he is able to one-shot those Rayquazas as long as he has a Choice Band attached. And then Solgaleo just destroys anything. As long as it's fully charged, it'll shut down any Pokemon that's really relevant. With the exception of things like opposing Solgaleo. As long as if you have a Choice Band attached, you can take those out too, though. But Solgaleo is the GX killer in the game, and Metagross is there to charge him back up. So leave us a comment down below, guys. Let us know if you like this video. Like I said, we're really close to our 100 subscribers, and once we get there, we're going to get you guys out some more Pokemon GX. So y'all stay tuned for that. I'll post a video once we reach that limit. We've also set up a Patreon page if y'all would like to support us. Just go to that Patreon page if you'd like. It's patreon.com/scissorexplosion, spelled just like the name of our channel. You can like our Facebook page too and send us messages on there if you'd like. It's just Scissor Explosion. Check that out if you'd like. But y'all like and comment down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And this is David and Julian from Scissor Explosion, and we'll see you all next time.